to show that Alice Linahan is for House Bill 1507. You may proceed.
Thank you. My name is Alice Linahan, and like I said, I'm with Women on the Wall. More importantly, I'm a mother of 3 children. In education in Texas and across the country, we've shifted our focus away from reading, writing, math, and history to attitudes, values, beliefs, and behaviors. And so it just becomes a matter of whose attitudes, values, beliefs, and behaviors. Whether I agree with the behaviors or not doesn't matter. But in the classrooms, we've shifted our focus. And I just want to ask you, does a kiddo get a good job someday when they grow up because they can read well, write well, do math, or because they believe in gay marriage or the LGBT agenda? We need to really look at what we're presenting to our children in the classroom through instructional materials, what is coming into the classroom with an agenda. Like I said, whether I agree with the agenda or not doesn't matter. We need to get back to reading, writing, math, and history so every child has an equal opportunity at success in life. Thank you.
All right. Yes, there's a question, Ms. Linahan. I think Chair recognizes Representative.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate your testimony. So, do you think we have a bullying problem in our schools?
I think that because we have shifted this focus in our classroom since TASA's new vision for public education and this whole shift, the uptick in bullying, we've always had bullying in the classroom, but there's been an uptick because of what we're exposing. Our kids are confused. Our kids don't know. They're debating issues. We're talking about issues that adults can't even agree on. So why, I have my own daughter come home from school crying because the whole English class was spent time talking about social issues. That talking about that creates the conflict, identity politics. It creates the conflict and causes the bullying. That's why I think if we really focus on the curriculum and what's being taught in the classroom, we can alleviate a lot of these issues like bullying because the focus of the class is academics.
When you were in high school, did you encounter gay students?
I don't think when I was in high school it was a topic. I know there were gay students. I have family members, but that's something that is kept at home in the family. What goes on behind closed doors is none of my business.
So my experience was that there were gay students in my high school, and whether or not they came out as openly gay, people talked about them as gay. Was that not your experience in your high school?
No, I mean, when you are at school and the teachers focus on academics, behaviors, whether we had, other names for things or, but kids are kids. Let kids be kids. Let those kind of issues, here's the other thing. Hasn't there been an uptick in students identifying as LGBT or transgender? That wasn't even an issue back when I was in school, even though, because what goes on behind closed doors stays behind closed doors.
You said that we had names for things and other things. What do you mean by that? What kind of names for things did you all have?
I'm talking about like people that were doing drugs or, the kicker. We had the kickers, the guys who were, wearing cowboy boots. They were in one side of the cafeteria. You had the people that did drugs on another side. You have people who join cliques.
Right.
That's natural. That's in life. And when you have good teachers who actually know how to teach a subject, the focus in the classroom SEL, social emotional learning, all that stuff has been going on for years because you had good teachers who knew those kids, loved those kids, no matter what their preferences were, a good teacher knows kids and knows how to reach kids. That's the focus of what should be going on in our classrooms in Texas.
So maybe this wasn't your experience. I find it hard to believe that there wasn't, well, I don't know when you graduated from high school. When I was in high school, there were names for people who were gay, and there are names that I can't say here today because they were terrible. And that was a culture that was accepted in my high school. And I don't think those kids could show up ready to learn because they were bullied. And there was a culture where that was accepted. Today, my son's school in Austin ISD, that's not accepted. And my sons don't have those same prejudices that I had as a student in high school. And I gotta believe that for that category of children, for LGBTQ children who no longer have to be subjected to that kind of discrimination and hostility, experience an educational environment where they can show up ready to learn.
I just don't think that the focus, why are we even having a bill?
This bill?
Yeah.
I have the same question, actually. You and I agree on that.
I mean, I'm for it because it is so prevalent, and I think our kids are confused. I knew kids in my children's school, not my grade, or when I was in school, because we just didn't talk about it, who came out because that was the cool thing to do. And then they go to college or they find a spouse or someone and they think, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? I was just going through puberty and all these, this culture was coming in. And so people change, people grow up. Teenagers are going through puberty. That we're expecting them to come out, to talk about these things when their hormones are going crazy. Why should that even be the focus?
I think what the focus has been is just creating environments where people can be themselves and accepted. That is at least, this bill is nebulous. It's hard to know exactly what is being targeted. But if we're talking about Pride Week in Austin ISD, my experience as a mother with two children.
What does Pride Week mean?
Means to be accepting of all kids, no matter.
What is Pride? What is LGBTQ? That is, it has sexual innuendo because we're talking about what people do behind closed doors. That should not be you and I's focus on kiddo. I love a kid just because he's a kid. I don't care what he does, his family, that should be the focus. To put in Pride Week in my children's school means that I'm focused on sex. I'm focused on what people do behind closed doors. That's not what I want my children to go to school talking about. I think it actually creates more of a divide to have that kind of a focus in the classroom because everyone knows, well, who's doing what behind closed doors with who? Well, can we have homosexual or heterosexual week?
I think every week is heterosexual week, frankly. I think the point of this is to say, doesn't matter if you're heterosexual, whatever you are. In my son's school, they wear a red shirt depending on their grade.
By wearing pride colors, you're saying I'm gay or I support gay.
I don't think so.
Or that lifestyle. That's a lifestyle. That's not academic. Why should that lifestyle be highlighted in our schools and shift the focus of what goes on that day or that week to that lifestyle? Shouldn't the focus be, can Johnny and Jane, who I don't care what they are, can they read well?
Well, what
Can
about,
they write
there was an
well?
example of Valentine's Day. Can we still celebrate Valentine's Day and also do reading and math on that day?
I don't remember having a big Valentine's Day. Why do we even have to? Valentine's Day is, a national thing. I don't celebrate Valentine's Day, but between my husband and I don't know. I don't think there should be a big Valentine's Day at school.
Okay.
Mr. Tallarico, I think, has a.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I regret bringing up Valentine's Day because I now think we're banning Valentine's Day in schools. So I apologize to the school children of Texas. No more cards. So, because this is the part I struggle with is, any mention of gay kids or gay people is suddenly about sex. But any mention of straight kids or straight relationships, we talked earlier, you're okay with like a homecoming king, a homecoming queen, prom king, prom queen. Are you okay with that?
Yes, because
Right, but and I am too, I wasn't homecoming king, I was on the court, but didn't get to king, but still a little bitter about that. But I think we should have a homecoming king, homecoming queen. I don't think that's about sex, do you?
when you are talking about the LGBTQ,
So it's just gay kids is when it's about sex, is that right?
no, I'm talking about even king and queen, male and female. That is, in my opinion, God's plan. I
Okay.
do believe that.
So it's a problem, so you have a particular problem with gay kids?
That's male and female. That's
Right.
not about sex. The king and queen don't go home and have sex.
No, it's helpful
The
to,
king and the male and the female don't necessarily go home and have sex.
but so it's helpful to hear from you so that we should treat these two groups differently.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
You're playing identity politics.
Well, this is
You're-
not my bill.
you're-
I'm asking
you're-
questions about this
that's
bill.
That's what you're doing. You're doing identity politics.
Okay.
When kids are in our community
Mm-hmm.
and they are going to school, we have males and we have females. I do believe that. I don't believe you can have, I don't believe in the transgender whole thing. So I think what we've done is we've taken we're using the gay community as a pawn in a much bigger plan, if you will. And so the fact that we didn't talk about this back when you and I were in high school, we didn't have a bill like this back when you and I were in high school, that means there's a shift there. And
Yes.
so there's a much bigger agenda here at play, and it's to shift the focus away from reading, writing, math, and history to values, beliefs, and behaviors. And just
So
like I said earlier, I don't care if I believe in the values that you believe in.
Right.
That's not what I want the schools
So
to be
there's always, I do believe there is a shift. We're always hopefully shifting toward a more inclusive society. Because I think you and I both
No,
agree.
there's a shift.
Well, I just
I'm
want to,
not
hold on,
talking
I want to ask you a
equal
question. and that's-
Equity, I'm talking about equal opportunity.
Well,
You're
so,
talking about equity.
well, I just want, I
I'm
want
talking
to,
about equal opportunity.
so I want
Different.
to ask, because at one time in Texas, an interracial couple was unacceptable. Is that correct? You should know that. That's common knowledge, right?
You're gonna.
I'm asking you a
so
question,
you're
ma'am. If you
going
could just
to
answer my question,
the
just so we can have a conversation,
Okay,
rather than filibustering.
let's stop for a minute. Let's stop for a minute.
Yeah, I don't think we.
I
can
think,
fight that.
hold ma'am. Let's be cordial and respectful of both the witness and the representative, okay? All right, so.
So I'll repeat
one
my
person
question
asks
just
a
so I can
question, The other
get an
person
answer.
answers, okay?
Thank you, Mr.
All
Chairman. So at one point in Texas, an interracial couple was not accepted.
My answer to you is you're using race to compare race to the LGBT, to acceptance and equity. That has that's completely different. That's where I'm talking about. You're using identity politics and race to prove a point, where my point is the focus in in our public school system should be about teaching all children, I don't care if you're black, white, gay, straight, whatever, to read well, write well, and do math well, so that every child in that classroom has an equal opportunity at success in life.
Right.
When you shift the focus to equity and equal outcomes, you've shifted the focus. That's how you shift away from academic
So in order to,
behavior.
and you know, I care the most about reading, writing, and arithmetic, and that's why I'm on this committee. It's why I was a teacher, why I ran for office. So yes, but what I know is that for students to be able to learn, they've got to feel safe and accepted first. And my point to you, looking back into our history about groups of students and groups of people that have been discriminated against, is that we're constantly evolving to include more people, to include different types of people. And that's why we have Black History Month. And I had students when I was a teacher who said, well, where is White History Month, right? So I had the same reaction you had to Pride with students complaining about Black history. And I had to explain to them that this was an effort to try to undo some past discrimination against certain types of students. And I think that's the goal of Pride in whatever form it may take, or inclusion in any form it might take. I think my concern, though, is that it seems like you have a different standard when it's a heterosexual student versus a homosexual student.
I do not.
Okay, that's good.
And my point is, whether you're black or white, that never changes. God's given you that. The color of your skin, your background, your heritage, whatever. When you start talking about LGBT, comprehensive sex ed, the shift in focus, you have a child that is confused. And you can be born, I don't know, I'm not going to get into
Do you believe that all gay people are confused?
Let me
Okay.
finish. I'm not one to judge. I'm not one to say people are born gay, not born gay. What I do know is there are a lot of kids today who are confused, who maybe come out gay, come out not gay. You can change that opinion of yourself, that lifestyle of yourself. I'm not one to judge. So when you're confusing kids about these issues, you don't have a safe environment. By focusing on Pride Week, LGBT, you're creating a non-safe environment. You're creating an environment of divide.
Okay.
Why do we need to divide? Let's just all come to school, read, write. Let's not talk about Pride Week. Let's not talk about
But we
these.
just went over examples where we talk about heterosexuality all the time in schools, right? So my point is,
heterosexuality is what other country or when in our history have we ever changed the focus away from a male and a female?
Yes.
What happened? Well, I know the history of where this whole agenda is coming from. There was a conference in Indonesia, and they put together a document and went to the UN and got approval, and they came into the United States to change our policy to implement an agenda. And frankly, I think they're using people who are gay who come
Let me stop.
as-
Let me
as
stop.
a,
Let me interject. Let me interject.
pawn.
One of the things we're going to do is try to stay focused on this bill, House Bill 1507,
Yes, sir.
and what it does and what it doesn't do. We're not going to go down the rabbit trail of figuring out all of the world's problems in this bill.
Right.
But we're going to stay on this bill, and that's
Yes,
both
sir.
in terms of the witness and for our representatives. So, okay,
Yes.
having said that, your time is up,
Yes, sir.
okay? So,
Okay.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for
very
your
much.
testimony.
Protect trans kids! 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 Protect